All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a super critical piece of test management from the ISTQB Advanced Syllabus, Test Monitoring and Control. This is all about how you, as the manager, actually steer the project and make sure it doesn't go off the rails. So let's get into it. So, you've done all the hard work, you've got this perfect test plan, you know exactly where you're supposed to go. But let's be real, once the project takes off, things happen, right? You hit unexpected turbulence. The question is, how do you make sure you're not just flying blind? This is the one challenge every single test manager has to solve. To really get a handle on this, let's use an analogy. Your test plan? That's your flight plan. It's the route you filed before takeoff. But test monitoring and control? Well, that's your cockpit. It's the whole shebang, all the instruments, the gauges, the controls that let you see exactly where you are and make those tiny adjustments to stay on course. So here's our flight path for this explainer. First, we're going to learn how to read our instruments. That's test monitoring. Then we'll talk about reporting to air traffic control, which is all about stakeholders. After that, we'll get hands-on and learn how to actually use the flight controls. That's test control. And to finish up, we'll put you in the pilot seat to test what you've learned. Okay, Section 1. Before you can even think about steering the plane, you have to know what's going on. This is all about the art and science of test monitoring, basically learning to read your instruments. So what is test monitoring, officially? Well, the ISTQB defines it as the ongoing process of checking your actual progress against what you planned. It's all about gathering data, analyzing it, and just getting a clear, honest picture of where your project stands. You can think of it as the information gathering phase. That's all it is. And these are the main dials and gauges in our cockpit. These are the key metrics you've got to keep an eye on. You're tracking things like test progress, how many tests are we actually running versus our plan? You've got product metrics like defects density, which tells you about the software's quality. Then there are defect metrics, showing how fast we're finding and squashing bugs. And finally, process metrics, which help us see if our own team processes are actually working. And boom, here's what that looks like in the real world. A simple key performance indicator, a KPI. Just at a glance, you can see you planned 500 tests, you've executed 350, and out of those, 310 passed. Right away, you have a snapshot. Are you on track? Is that failure rate a little high? This is the kind of instant feedback that good monitoring gives you. Now let's zoom in on a couple of those gauges. Take a look at this table. Requirements coverage, it's just asking, are we actually testing what we said we would test? Simple, but critical. Defect density helps us find those problem spots in the code that are magnets for bugs. And the defect resolution rate, that tells you how good your whole team is at fixing problems. You see, each metric tells a different, important part of the story. Okay, we know how to read our instruments. Now what? Well, it's time for Section 2, reporting to air traffic control. It's not enough for just you, the pilot, to know what's up. You have to communicate that status clearly to everyone who needs to know. In other words, your stakeholders. Now, this is absolutely crucial. Reporting is not just about dumping data on people. As the ISTQB syllabus points out, the whole point is to give stakeholders the info they need to make smart, informed decisions. Should we delay the release? Is this feature ready? Your reports are what they use to answer those huge questions. And here is a fantastic example of what that looks like. This isn't just a list of numbers, it's a story. We're not just saying 350 tests were run. We're saying we're 5% behind schedule because the test environment went down. See the difference? We're highlighting that a critical bug is blocking a key feature. This is how you turn raw data into real intelligence. For those really busy stakeholders who just need the quick version, dashboards are your absolute best friend. They take all this complex data we've been talking about and just make it simple. They present it in a graphical way. It's basically the main display in your cockpit, showing altitude, speed, and direction, all in one easy-to-read place. Okay, so we've read the instruments and we've reported our status to the tower. Now for the most important part, Section 3. Taking corrective action. This is where you actually grab the controls and keep this project flying straight. This is test control. So, what is test control? The ISTQB says it's the activity of taking corrective action whenever your monitoring shows you're off course. It's that simple. If monitoring tells you you're losing altitude, control is the act of pulling back on the yoke to climb. It is the doing part of this whole cycle.
This slide just nails the difference. Test monitoring is passive. It's about gathering information, just looking at the dials. But test control, that's active. That's about taking action. You're using that information to actually make a change. You can't have one without the other. Control without monitoring is flying blind, and monitoring without control is, well, it's just watching yourself crash.
So how do you actually do it? It's not magic. There's a simple 4-step process. First, just see the problem and admit it's there. Don't ignore that flashing warning light. Second, figure out why it's happening. What's the root cause? Third, decide what you're going to do about it. And fourth, do it. Implement the fix, and then, and this is key, go right back to monitoring to see if it actually worked. And what do these actions look like? Well, the syllabus gives some great practical examples. Maybe a really important feature is way buggier than you thought, so you reprioritize your tests to focus there. Or maybe you're just plain behind schedule, so you adjust the timeline or bring in another tester. These are real, tangible things you can do to steer the project back on track. All right, ground school is officially over. Now it's time to hop into the simulator for Section 4 and test your knowledge. Let's see if you can apply what we've talked about with a few exam-style questions. Okay, here's the first one. Your monitoring shows that fixing critical bugs is taking too long, and it's putting the release date at risk. Which of these is a test control action? Is it A, reporting the delay, B, updating a chart, C, reprioritizing tests, or D, archiving results? Think about it for a second. And the correct answer is C, reprioritizing the tests. Why? Because it's a direct corrective action. Reporting the delay or updating a chart, those are monitoring activities. They're about communicating information, not doing something about it. That's the key difference. Question 2 for you. You need to give a quick, daily, high-level summary to an executive. What's the best tool for the job? Is it A, a detailed log, B, a giant list of bugs, C, a formal final report, or D, a graphical dashboard with KPIs? And the answer here is D, a graphical dashboard. Of course, an executive doesn't have time to wade through logs and bug lists. They need that high-level, are we okay view. And a dashboard with clear KPIs gives them exactly that. It's all about tailoring the report to your audience. Okay, last question, and this one really gets to the heart of everything we've talked about. What is the best way to describe the difference between monitoring and control? Is it A, who does it, B, data versus action, C, how often it happens, or D, what tools it uses? And the answer is B. Monitoring is about data collection, while control is about decision-making and action. This is the core concept, the main takeaway. Monitoring is seeing, control is doing. Monitoring is checking the instruments, control is actually flying the plane. If you get that, you've totally got this. So, to wrap it all up, a great test plan is absolutely essential. But it's your ability to constantly monitor those instruments and take corrective control that ensures you actually get to your destination safely. These two activities working together are what turn a plan into a success. And that's it from me. But I'll leave you with one final thought to take back to your own work. Now that you're in the pilot seat, what's the very first instrument on your project's dashboard that you're going to check? Thanks so much for joining me.